Oh, it's a sound check. All right. Start. Hold on. Oopsies. I forget how things work. I need to load. Here it is. Where's the music? And I hope this isn't like Doki Doki, because that's always a bad thing when the music goes away. Okay. Alright. The next morning dawned in understated shades of gray and powder blue, and there was a pervading chill in the air. I lay in my futon for a few minutes like a baby, eyes shut, tried to fend off the cold to little avail. The cool air brushed aside my blankets with ease, trailing ice against each and every bump of my spine. I was thankful when a little after 7:30 Rico came to deliver my breakfast. Like yesterday, however, she didn't stay for long. That would have been, as I already explained, improper. However, maybe it was my ingrained desire as a writer to riddle out stories for every nook and cranny, but I thought there might be a bit more to it than that. Rago seemed harried. Her greeting was awfully clipped compared to her congenial tones the day before. It made me wonder, and I continued to wonder while I ate my breakfast, which consisted of white rice and sorry. Maybe Raika was being overworked. I wouldn't put it past Miss Kakiuchi. Though I knew little about the woman, and it seemed unfair to judge her character based on Yusuke's observations, the way she had shouted for Raiko yesterday did not bode well. My mother had certainly never spoken to me like that when I was a child. Sachiko, meanwhile, would have sooner eaten a bar of soap than scold Kento or Kenji, our little boys, who wrote so little now, come to think of it. Kento was 22. Kenji was 17. Practically an adult. But children never stop being children to their parents, even when they have children of their own, and debts, and their hair starts to thin. That's just how parents are. What of Miss Kakiuchi, though? What of Reiko? It was not too unusual, I supposed, for a daughter to help her mother with the family business, particularly a business that was secreted away in the mountains and might struggle to maintain regular staff, but interacting with your mother, not only as a parent but an employer, must have placed some undue strain on their relationship, and it was obvious it was strange. Oh, it was obvious it was strained. That had been more than apparent judging by the way Reiko shied away from her mother. These idle thoughts kept me busy throughout breakfast. I suppose the sari was delicious. The skin lightly crispy, flavored with just a pinch of salt, but I hardly tasted it. This time, it wasn't because I was comparing the quality of the cooking to Sachiko's. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't thinking about Sachiko at all. I finished my breakfast, leaving only the skeleton of the sari behind. Its rib cage was snowy white, the slender bones curved in a gentle arch. With a full stomach and nothing else to do, I glanced vacantly out of the window. I thought something sounded strange when I awoke, but it was only now, well-fed and well-rested, that I realized what it was. It was no longer snowing. I had grown so accustomed to the sound of the falling snow, the lack of it was disconcerting. It is hard to put it into words, but I suppose it was like hearing an old song, a childhood favorite, played quite a note out of tune. The ground was thick and heavy with snow, like a blanket. The trees that lined the inward naked cluster of leaves, their branches were laden with snow, their trunks wreathed with frost. The branches looked like long, slender fingers reaching into the sky, seeking refuge, perhaps, from the cold. But their pleas would not be answered. Though it ceased snowing, for the moment at least, the weather could hardly be called warm. The sun outside shone weakly, but it was a rather poor effort. I don't think I've ever seen such a melancholy sun before. So fragile, so delicate, and so tiny too. It might as well have been a pinprick, a pinhead, a baby's fingernail. I shifted, strangely anxious. For a few moments, I feared I really was at the bottom of a well. Even the playful wind had abated, and it was quiet enough to be eerie. I could hear the sound of my own heart beating. In the still silence, frozen like a photograph, there was nothing to distract me from myself. I scrambled to my feet. All of a sudden, I felt anxious, though I wasn't sure why. Worry weighed down my subconscious, but it was a nebulous and vague kind of worry I couldn't explain. Because I couldn't discern the source of my anxiety, I wasn't sure how to go about placating it, and that troubled me all the more. It was better than to move. I couldn't stay in my room any longer. If I did, I might have gone mad. I crept along the wooden corridor as quietly as I could. It was still relatively early in the morning, and I didn't want to disturb any of my guests. Not that I'd seen any other guests. I presumed there must have been other guests, though, or Rika would not have looked so put upon that morning. While I had been lying on my futon, luxuriating in what little heat it afforded me, had Rika already been up and about, sweeping floors and conveying messages to the cook and jumping at the sound of her mother's authoritarian tones? Not for the first time, I felt sorry for the girl. It was unfortunate my pity had very few practical applications. I kept quiet, my head bent, and continued to pick my way down the hallway. No matter how silently I attempted to tread, the floor creaked all the same, announcing my presence to whoever cared to listen. But there was nobody around to listen. If there were other guests, they were tucked away in their rooms, still fast asleep. It was so quiet, save for the sounds of myself and my own shuffling. I could almost bring myself to believe I was the only person left alive. The only one in the whole world. There were no other guests at the Azami Inn. Why would there be? If there were guests, they wouldn't be flesh and blood humans. You'd have to be crazy to come to a secluded place like this of your own accord. No, there were no humans here, only ghosts. Maybe when I was sleeping, these ghosts crept out of the shadows and held parties. They would tell stories of the good old days and play the koto and let the sake flow. What else was there to do in these mountains, even for ghosts? If they were hopeful spinsters or helpless romantics, they wouldn't find their second halves here. If they were downtrodden servants or lonely proprietors of decades past, they wouldn't find comfort here. If they were warlords or samurai seeking revenge against their defeated kinsmen, they wouldn't find salvation here. It was far too desolate. While conjuring up these stories inside my head, I failed to realize I had managed to stumble across the prominent figure of the inn's current state. That is, until said figure in question cleared her throat and gave me a curious look. Mr. Tommy, excuse me, Mr. Tommy? Oh, I started, blinking away the hazy ghost from yesteryear that had settled behind my eyelids like the snow. The helpless romantics dissolved in fits of tears, and the downtrodden servants bowed themselves into non-existence, and the shamed samurai skulked away into the shadows. There was nobody left in the Azami Inn. Nobody, save for myself and my hostess, Miss Kakiyoshi Kaio. I apologize, I said hastily, bowing my head. I didn't mean to ignore you. I was just lost in my own world, I suppose. It's quite all right, said Miss Kakiuchi, though I had my doubts. I didn't take Miss Kakiuchi for the kind of woman who appreciated being ignored. I don't think anybody enjoys being ignored. How else can we confirm our own existences, if not with the eyes of others? But Miss Kakiuchi seemed to have less patience with it than most. I just wanted to ask, Miss Kakiuchi continued, her voice smooth and soft, whether you had a pleasant night. was fine, thank you, I responded in turn, just as she had expected, polite yet distanced. We could have been two birds passing by on opposing migratory paths, one going north and one going south, never to see the other again. That's what most human relationships boil down to. Ah, all of the snow must have made me solipsistic, or maybe it was the cold. I hope the wind did not keep you awake, Miss Kakeuchi asked. It took a bit of getting used to, I said carefully, but I was able to settle down in the end. There are different noises everywhere you go. Tokyo can be loud at night too. I can imagine, said Miss Kakeuchi, with the air of one who did not care to imagine at all. Do you have any plans? I thought I might go for a walk. There is little else to do here, and the forest looks very pretty. Like something from a fairy tale. It is pretty, Miss Kakeuchi agreed. But you have to be careful. I wouldn't want you to wander off and get lost. It would be bad for your business. Too far into the forest. There should be some signs that point to Higashikawa. That's the nearest village. If you keep sight of those signs, you should be fine. All right, thank you. It's no problem, said Miss Kakeuchi. And of course it wasn't. She was just doing her job. She wasn't telling me to be careful because she liked me. She hardly knew me, and I didn't think my first impressions had been all that favorable. Just as I didn't particularly like Miss Kakeuchi, I got the feeling that she didn't particularly like me either. I'm not sure why I thought that. Call it paranoia if you will, but the way Miss Kakeuchi surveyed me, her eyes narrowed, left me with no doubts we were not, and never could be, friends. Just try to come back before 12. You don't have to, of course. If you want to eat lunch in the inn, that would be advisable. There aren't many restaurants around here, unless you're prepared to walk in the snow for miles or hire a taxi. I bowed my head, thanked her again, and then I left. I had no desire to look back. Night danced across the tip of my tongue. It was soothing and set me at ease, perhaps perversely, given it was so frigid. If it had been cold inside the inn, it was nothing compared to the temperature outside of its old wooden walls. The air felt cold to preserve a corpse, pristine condition, like a doll freshly unwrapped from a box filled with tissue paper. Miss Kakeuchi, however, was even colder. I was content to presume that Miss Kakeuchi's blood was warm and red like mine, but there was something about her that unsettled me. ephemeral seemed to have far more value than I did. It was prettier, at any rate, and probably brought people more joy. Most of my poems, my novel included, were rather gloomy works. The critics had panned my novel particularly, claiming it was rather too maudlin and not realistically so. Perhaps that was because I was writing from a position of privilege. How could I write about sadness, true, deep, untapped sadness, when I had lived a comfortable life accompanied by a loving wife and 2 devoted sons? I'd never before experienced great loss of grief or sorrow. Great loss or grief or sorrow. Just boredom. And I had the nerve to tire of Chico's presence simply because I had grown accustomed to the taste of her. When I looked at it like that, I was a horrible human being. Did I even deserve to have a wife like Chico? Chico had never wronged me, and yet, at the same time, I felt I could no longer stand to be in the same room as her. Chico's servility, which had once seemed so charming, was now nothing more than an irritant. English much. It was almost as though my vile thoughts were staining the snow rather than my feet. I felt, as I walked, that my existence was making the world a worse place. However, I was too young for such flights of fancy, and I knew I couldn't be so irresponsible. Chico was waiting for me, as and Kenji. I had formed too many connections during my life, and I preferred to sever them over a few childish impulses. Starting a new life? How could I, out here? It sounded like a romantic prospect, but I was soon grow sick and tired of the snow, just as I had grown sick and tired of Chico. So much so that I can't say her name too well. Chico and our miso soup, which was so predictably delicious it was almost irritating. I laughed readily to myself. How lucky, how lucky I was that this was all I had to be upset about. It was almost like my life was perfect. I wondered if Rika would make me like her. Perhaps she would like it. Men seemed to value my writing more than men. Perhaps because I had a fondness for plain romance stories. Mawkish romance stories where nothing went right and everything fell apart. My novel was about a young girl apprenticed to be a geisha. Of course, I myself have never been apprenticed as a geisha. I am not a woman. Maybe that was why my book didn't sound sincere. I had no idea what I was doing, really. I was just fantasizing. Chico liked it. Then again, Chico liked everything I did. I didn't know if I could trust her. I paused at another wooden sign. Apparently, Shikawa was 10 miles away. The wooden sign was a useful tool amidst the sea of mirror maze repetitions. Out here, in the strangely silent forest, the trees seemed endless. They formed a truly dizzying collection of brown trunks with no trees would bear fruit. They were frozen. A robin woven twigs overhead. The delicate figure of a bird hopped amongst the branches, its head tilted to one side. Its colorful feathers seemed to glow against the sun, a splash of orange against the white. My walk brought My walk brought some much-needed color to my face. My cheeks were flushed with blood, and my fingers were tingling pleasantly from the cold. I returned to my room at midday with the intention of secluding myself beneath the warmth of my kotatsu, but my plans had not accounted for an uninvited but not unwanted guest. Rika was kneeling in the corner of my room, my breakfast tray at her feet. I gathered that she had been in the process of cleaning away my morning meal. A little late, wasn't it? But something had distracted her. It was a book. To be more precise, it was a book of poetry, a neat little anthology bound in leather. This would not have been too startling were it not for one crucial point. They were not just any poems, they were my poems. I was the sort of person to travel with a book of my own poetry, you understand. That would be rather arrogant of me, and I've never been particularly proud of my work either. Some other advantages. Some of the poems in this collection were a good 20 years old or more, and I thought my style had matured a lot since then. Oh, so the use of unnecessary words these earlier efforts. Oh, and if they were emotionally effective, they were overly sentimental. In my opinion, poetry should attract pleasure. The reader that had with unworthy words. Poems should use their words carefully, like tools. Each and every syllable should be selected and achieved with clever. I would liken it to a doctor performing a delicate operation. He shouldn't use unnecessary instruments or apply too much pressure. That is the sign of a good doctor. Novice writers, I think, mistake their large vocabulary for unequivocal genius and struggle to utilize as many grandiloquent terms and phrases as possible to prove their own superiority, not to benefit the reader's experience, but for the sake of their own bloated egotism. It's quite a tiresome experience. In any event, I had packed that anthology of poetry myself. Sachiko had. I wasn't sure why she thought I wanted it. Maybe she thought it would help me with my writing if I could reflect upon my past failures. Pardon me. Not that Sachiko would have called any of my work failures, even some of the more trite pieces. Returning to my room cold and tired to discover Reiko pouring through my poems, however. This was an unexpected development, and my mouth parted in a small circle of I don't mind, really. I understand completely if you want to file a complaint. I'll accept any kind of punishment. I... And then she broke off, blinking in surprise. Did you say you don't mind? Well, I coughed and ran one hand through my hair. I suppose this is somewhat embarrassing. I'm not overly keen on that anthology. Oh, you're not? Reiko asked, inclining her head to one side. Why are you carrying around a volume of poems you don't care for, then? It was a good question. My wife packed it. Oh, Reiko said again, the syllable slipping from her lips, as clear as stream water. Does your wife like poetry? Sachiko isn't too familiar with poetry. I think she likes this collection because he feels she has to. I'm not sure how much she understands, I winced. That sounds rather pretentious. Reiko looked down at the tatami floor, suddenly shy. In my opinion, probably doesn't count for much, but I like those poems. You did? Yes. Well, yes, well, I didn't finish all of them, but they were very pretty, so detailed too. The detail is the worst thing. You can overlook it. Well, maybe it was a bit too much at certain points, but I think that shows how passionate the writer is. Yes, said Reiko, nodding, as she came to a conclusion. That's it. They're very passionate. The writer really, painted a picture with their words. I could see everything so clearly. I was transfixed. Even the poem about the fireworks? Especially the poem about the fireworks. Reiko's own irises seemed to light up with bursts of pyrotechnic wonder. Goodness, I sighed, letting my head meet to my hands. That poem is the worst of the bunch. Well, maybe you can't understand it because you're a man. It's a very romantic poem. Ah, yes, the poem about the fireworks. It was one of the first poems I had ever written. It had been popular when I published it in the local newspaper, and it was perhaps one of my better-known works. For that reason, I hated it. Looking back on it, it seemed far too juvenile and immature. The imagery was labored, piled on with a shovel, and the theme of silence was integrated clumsily. A poem about silence should know better than to fill every single space for breath with the melody of words. And as for the lovers needing to share the first kiss, well, Maybe that was why Reiko looked so troubled. I've never seen fireworks before, but that poem was so vivid it helped me imagine. Reiko shifted her face a little flushed from her sudden confession. Perhaps she was embarrassed. I felt a touch embarrassed on her behalf, but she didn't duck her head or try to hide behind her hands. I came to clear away your breakfast half an hour ago, but I got so taken in by these poems I forgot what I was supposed to be doing. It was a fireworks poem especially. Of course it was. It was always a fireworks poem. Perhaps it wasn't such a bad piece of work then if Reiko rated it so highly. But a stubborn part of me didn't want to accept that. I had written it years ago. Surely I had created a fine art since. But did the quality of my craft matter when the general public referred to older pieces, more imperfect in their construction as perhaps more emotionally charged because of their naivete? I wasn't really sure how to feel. I was pleased Reiko enjoyed my poem, but at the same time, it was a bit unsatisfying. It isn't something that you haven't progressed at all in your craft, and in fact, we have gone back over 2 decades. 20 years is a long time, too long rather, to cling to youthful tendencies at first fall beneath the stars in the sky. I didn't know what to do with myself after long ago, Reiko confessed. I just started thinking. I wet my lips with my tongue. All of a sudden, my throat felt rather dry. If you don't mind me asking, what did it make you think about exactly? Oh, all kinds of things, said Reiko. I thought about festivals I'll never go to, and pretty clothes I'll never wear, and boys I'll never kiss. She smiled sheepishly. What am I saying? I must sound so selfish and uncultured, reading such a pretty poem and only thinking about myself. I bet there are deeper themes in there, and I am too stupid to see them. The author would probably be mad at me. Oh no, I said. The author wouldn't be mad at you at all. In fact, it's quite the opposite. How can you be certain? Do you know them? Quite intimately, in fact. You see. I paused for dramatic effect, amused by the theatricality of the whole thing. In that moment, I could have been a disciple of the Kabuki theater. Reiko stared at me expectantly, her hands clenched into fists. For a few moments, it seemed as though neither of us could breathe. Wasn't that foolish? I already knew the grand reveal, but Reiko didn't. Tabiichi, I said, gesturing to the front cover of my anthology. I'm not sure if I gave you my full name yesterday, but, well, I spread open my arms, an honest expression on my face. That's me. Oh! Reiko looked at the cover lights, and she opened and closed her mouth with juddering motions like keys stuck on a typewriter. I, 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 you? I can't believe it, she exclaimed, and then she bowed so deeply she almost knocked her forehead against the floor. And here I was, talking about the other's intention and acting so high and mighty when you were the one who wrote it to begin with. I must have sounded so stupid. You didn't sound stupid. I'm flattered that you like my poem so much. It's touching. If only it had been a poem other than fireworks. But I said maybe you can't understand. I can't believe I said that. Of course you understand. It's your poem. You know far more about it than I do. That isn't necessarily true. Your unique perspective is always refreshing. There's a chance I could be conveying things even I didn't notice. And each piece of writing means something different to every person that reads it. We all have different experiences, and that helps us engage with text in different ways. What about rough talk? There isn't a right or wrong way to read a poem, and I'm not a teacher. I'm not training you on this. Please try to calm down first. It's no need to keep bowing that way. I was hardly expecting such a show of subjugation. I was only a writer, and not a particularly talented one either. That was what I decided. When I saw Rico's face, however, so shy flushed, the tips of her ears were turning pink, her words with great force of nerves were rough and irreverent. I didn't know that much. Rico ceased her incessant motions of reverence, which must have been making her dizzy, and blinked at me. I'm sorry, she whimpered. I feel like such a fool. Like I should stop talking, probably forever. Everyone would be so much happier that way. I wouldn't. Well, what do you mean? I mean, I swallowed. What did I mean? I like hearing about your opinions. It's interesting. Oh, I see. Veronica didn't see, not then at least. I must admit, at that moment, neither did I. I knew that I liked her, but I didn't know quite how much I liked her, or how much I would come to like her. I went to tell Rico that I enjoyed her company, but all of a sudden I felt bashful and couldn't get the words out. So ends day 2. Oh, sorry, just ended day 2, and I'll pick up day 3 later. I don't know if it's tomorrow or not. Watch the replay if you like to see day 2. Okay. Alright, cool. So, yay. 6 days of snow. Part 1 and 2 are Twitch. Part 1 is on my YouTube. Becky828 plays. Part 2 will be there too. Sorry, just finished day 2. I will be doing day 3 tomorrow or a different day. But thank you for coming in and checking it out. Okay. Alright, well, thanks for anybody who stopped by. Hopefully this is fun times. Yay. I don't know, I'm trying. It's kind of a fun story. Things seem like they're gonna go very naughty. Hopefully not. He's like, seems a lot older, and she's a teenager, and jailbait seems to be a problem in this. Hopefully not, but seems like, alright, well, bye. Good night.